You know how in some stories the hero ends up becoming the villain? Well, that's pretty much what happened with the Stellantis 1.2 PureTech engine. This thing was a superstar. It was racking up Engine of the Year awards left and right for being so incredibly efficient. But now it's famous for causing widespread, catastrophic, and seriously expensive failures. So how on earth did an engineering marvel turn into a total mechanical nightmare?
Okay, let's get into it because something is silently eating away at these engines from the inside out. And it's a real mystery that's left thousands of drivers completely stranded and, frankly, pretty confused. So today we're going to play detective, follow the clues, and find out exactly what's going on. So if you look at the timeline, something just doesn't add up. The engine comes out in 2012, and for like 8 or 9 years, things are mostly fine. Then, all of a sudden, around 2021, the reports of catastrophic failures just explode. That huge gap between its launch and when the problem started, that's our first big clue. It tells us the problem probably wasn't just the engine itself. Something else, some outside factor, must have changed around 2018.
To really understand what's going on here, we have to pop the hood, so to speak, and do a little mechanical autopsy. And the heart of this whole mystery, the source of all this trouble, is one single, innovative, and now pretty infamous component, the wet timing belt.
So what exactly is a wet belt? Well, unlike a normal, dry timing belt that you'd find on the outside of an engine, this one is made of a special kind of advanced rubber and is designed to run inside the engine. The idea was actually pretty brilliant. It would be lubricated by oil vapor, making it super quiet and reducing friction, which helps with fuel economy. On paper, it was a total win-win. And this right here, this is where a really common misunderstanding comes from. People call it a belt-in-oil system, but that's not really the whole story for the PureTech. You see, it doesn't run fully submerged in a bath of oil, where it would be constantly washed clean. Instead, it lives in this hot, humid environment of oil vapor and splash. And that is a huge difference. Think about it. A submerged belt gets a constant shower. A belt living in vapor is just exposed to all the nasty gases and gunk inside the engine, which can stick to it and build up over time. All right, so we've examined the crime scene. Now it's time to bring in the witnesses. We're going to look at what the experts are saying, the folks who actually make the belts and the companies that make the oil additives. Their testimony is going to be our evidence. First on the stand, we've got Continental, the company that manufactures the belts. And they point a finger straight at contaminated oil. They say that even tiny impurities can cause these extremely hard crystals to form. Just imagine tiny, sharp bits of rock getting ground between the belt and the pulleys over and over again. That's the kind of physical damage they're talking about.
Now for our second witness, the additive manufacturer wins. And they don't just point to a suspect. They come right out and name it. They say, point blank, that it's acetic acid from bioethanol in the fuel that is causing the belt to literally decompose. So this isn't physical damage anymore. This is a straight-up chemical attack.
Okay, so we've got two culprits on our list. These hard crystals from oil impurities and a chemical assault from acetic acid. Let's connect the dots because the smoking gun is about to show up.
Remember that date from our timeline, 2018? Well, that's the year that E5 and E10 gasoline, the stuff that has up to 5% or 10% bioethanol mixed in, became mandatory and widespread all across Europe. The timing here is definitely not a coincidence. This is the big external factor we were looking for.
And here it is, the aha moment. This is the chain reaction of destruction. So first, a little bit of gasoline, which now contains ethanol, always finds its way past the piston rings and into the engine oil. That's totally normal. It's called fuel dilution. Second, that ethanol in the oil breaks down and forms acetic acid. Yeah, literally the same stuff that's in white vinegar. Third, this acid just starts eating away at the belt's special rubber. And finally, as the belt gets weak, it swells up, cracks, and starts shedding little pieces of itself. That debris then clogs the oil pump, the engine gets starved of oil, and boom, catastrophic failure.
So this is a massive problem, all caused by a chemical reaction that nobody saw coming. So how did the manufacturer, Stellantis, respond once they finally figured out what was happening? Well, their primary solution wasn't to recall and replace every single engine out there. Instead, they focused on changing the environment that the belt lives in. They went back to the drawing board and created a brand new type of engine oil, one specifically designed to fight back against this chemical assault. This new standard has one of those super catchy engineering names, FPW9.5535/03. I know, it's a mouthful, but its job is actually pretty simple. This oil is packed with additives that are way better at neutralizing that nasty acetic acid, and its base formulation is tougher, so it can resist breaking down in that harsh, ethanol-filled environment. And this little showdown here really makes the change clear. The old oils were often really thin, like a 0W30, and their whole purpose was to squeeze out every last drop of fuel economy. The new stuff, a more robust 5W30, is different. It's thicker, it's more stable, and it holds up way better under high heat and stress. But the biggest thing is the shift in philosophy. It went from being all about fuel economy to being about durability and, crucially, acid neutralization.
Okay, so we've investigated the crime scene, we've identified the culprit, and we've seen the official fix. Now let's get to the most important question. What does all this mean for you? And what can you do to protect your engine?
All right, here is your puretech survival guide. First, and I absolutely cannot stress this enough, you must only use oil that has the official FPW95535/03 approval. And look closely at the bottle. Recommended for is not the same as an official approval. Second, if you have the choice, use E5 gasoline instead of E10. Less ethanol is always better. Third, stick to the maintenance schedule like glue. And be aware, they've often shortened the service intervals. And finally, make sure you know the terms of the manufacturer's extended warranty for this specific issue.
But, let's just zoom out for a second. This whole PureTech saga is way more than just a story about one faulty engine. It's a huge cautionary tale. In this relentless race for better fuel efficiency and lower emissions, engineers are making incredibly complex trade-offs. They design this clever, quiet, efficient wet belt system, never imagining that a totally separate, well-intentioned environmental policy on biofuels would create the perfect chemical weapon to destroy it. And that really brings us to this one big, lingering question. Biofuels are supposed to be green tech. High-efficiency engines are supposed to be green tech. But when these two things clash and cause thousands, maybe millions of engines to fail way before their time, is that really a win for the environment? It really makes you wonder, in today's car world, are we being forced to choose between green technology and long-term durability? It feels like a conflict that car makers and all of us as car owners are going to be dealing with for a long, long time.